Now, our guest today is the second generation of a boxing dynasty, but following in his father's footsteps wasn't always on the cards. Well, it's fair to say his dad is now in his corner. Please welcome Chris Eubank Jr. Well, listen, you definitely kind of proved your dad wrong in that you've gone on to phenomenal boxing success. But what was that tension? Why did he not want you to follow in his footsteps?
Yeah, I've come a long way since those days. But I guess as a father, he was worried. He was worried that his son wouldn't be able to, do the things that he did to get to where he got to in that industry. It's a very tough life to live. He didn't want that for his son. He didn't think I would be tough enough to go through the, the trials and tribulations that boxers have to go through. I grew up privileged. I grew up in in a nice house, went to private school. That's not usually what breeds tough men. But I proved him wrong.
Mm. Was the seed set then when he said you're not tough enough? I mean, that's a big thing to say to a small kid, isn't it?
One thing I've come to realise is, if you don't want your kids to do something, the last thing you should do is tell them they can't do it, because then they're going to want to do it even more.
Exactly. Yeah. I suppose, with him. He's hugely successful, he's earned all this money, he's put you in private school. I suppose he doesn't want you to go through that kind of suffering also and that pain. Would that have been it? I mean,
no parent wants to see their child go through hardship, and that is what boxing is. It's a hard life. But it was my passion. I loved it. I loved that competition. I loved the excitement of combat sports. Nothing was going to kind of deter me from that. And I think the fact my father maybe didn't believe in me or think that I could do it, it just spurred me on that much more to kind of prove him wrong.
So it sounds like he was your hero and you were trying to live up to that. Did he not ever feel that, do you think?
No, yeah. He knew how much I admired him and what he did. He was a hero. He still is my hero. But again, he go and play football, be an actor, be a doctor, stay in school. Why are you going to go and get punched in the face for a living? Yeah. And I get it.
I get it. I mean, I was going to ask if, I know you don't have any children, but if you did have a son and he said he wanted to be a boxer, how do you think you would feel?
Looking at all the things I've had to go through, I get what my father was saying and why he was saying it. But I wouldn't ever tell my son no. Because I feel like it's one of those things you have to if someone has a passion, if someone wants to try something, they're going to do it anyway. So
maybe go counterintuitive. Now, listen, the only thing you're allowed to do is boxing.
Right, maybe that's what to do. And you know what? Maybe that's what my father was doing. Maybe he thought, you know what, let me say I don't think he can do it so that it forces him to prove me wrong and try even harder.
I mean, it got serious between the two of you, didn't it? Because you actually became estranged over it. That's how passionately he was against you doing it.
I mean, this was after years and years of fighting and him being my manager and my trainer, and it got to a stage in my life as an adult, as a grown man, where I made the decision to, kind of step away from this huge figure. He was, he's such a massive character, and, it was always Chris Eubank's son. That's what I was known for.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I was like, how do I get away from that? How do I become my own man? How do I become something where people just know me for me? And I realised that I had to kind of walk my own path, separate myself.
I bet he secretly admired that.
You know what? I think you have to. I think you have to respect that. But he was so used to kind of being in control of everything in my life that it forced us into a situation where we kind of, we stopped talking. And, I regret that. Luckily, recently, we've come back together, And
in typical fashion, real showmanship when
you we came back together in front of the world,
What did you think of your next move then? Because, of course, you're making a foray into the acting world. You're going to be in The Gentleman, the Guy Ritchie series. Series 1's on at the moment. What's his thoughts on that?
Yes, so, I'm 35 years old, 36 in September. And, boxing is, it's a young man's game. So at some point, I'm going to have to look to do other things. Not anytime soon, but over the next few years, you know, it may get to a stage where, you know, what else can I do? And acting is a passion of mine. I've always admired actors and that craft. So it's been an honor and a privilege to kind of step into this acting world in The Gentleman with Guy Ritchie, and kind
Who
of...
has got form with this, because with Vinnie Jones...
Right,
He knows how to spot a sportsman who also has the ability to shine on screen as an actor, so...
Yeah. So on
you're in
set,
good
Vinnie was
company.
giving me a lot of tips, and he was saying, you know, listen, you're walking the same path as me. I was a sportsman. Vinnie gave me a shot, and, you know, I kind of just... Things grew from there, and that's kind of the path that I'm now on. So hopefully... you know, I can get some success going through this great series and move on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
Did your dad want to be an actor? Because he's such a performer, isn't he? I mean, we think of him more as a performer as much as we do as a boxer.
He actually, I think he did some acting. I think he was in a movie with Orlando Bloom.
I've heard of him.
It was called the Milky Way Kid or something. It was like a boxing thing. But you know, my father is such a huge character. You know, he can't
Get away from himself.
Yeah, he can't play somebody else.
Yes, yeah.
And that's what you have to do to be a successful actor.
Yeah.
You have to kind of go into somebody else's realm.
Well, you're
He's just him.
not giving up boxing anytime soon, because you've got your rematch against Conor Benn, of course, and there's all sorts of emotional sort of backstory to that. And your dad's not keen on the rematch either, is he?
Well, you know, yes. So I'm scheduled to fight again November 15th. It's a rematch. It's a huge fight. And my father wasn't going to come to the first one. He ended up calling me the night before saying, you know what, I'm going to come and support you. I'm going to be there with you. And we've kind of, our relationship is kind of growing since then. But he doesn't want me to get back into the ring. He's still worried. Even though I won the first fight, you know, I was in hospital for a few days afterwards, and he doesn't want me to go through that again. But I'm a fighter. This is my life. This is my passion. I'm going to do it for as long as I can. And I think, you know, for this fight, he's going to be a lot more supportive, and he will be there.
Great.
Well, we wish you all the best.